When I moved to Sheffield about 10 years ago, it was pretty obvious that the people who were strong in the gym would be doing lots of problems that were hard rather than just one or two. So you'd regularly see people go around a whole circuit of hard problems, and it was just considered training really. So for example, at the foundry on the mighty wave, people would come along and they would repeat everything they'd done before and then add on one or two hard problems at the end. Those hard problems at the end would stereotypically be my projects that they would then do after doing all the rest of the circuit. So this video is me completing my training goal that I set myself about a year and a half ago to complete every yellow in the Sheffield depot in one session. I actually managed it a lot quicker than I thought I would. I gave myself 3 hours to do it and managed it in about 90 minutes. So training must have paid off in some way, shape or form. So I'm putting it on YouTube to save it for my own records and to hopefully make a useful video that you guys can listen to and just learn a bit more about my approach to climbing and how it might help you. So I've climbed since I was 12 and I'm 30 now, so that's 18 years of climbing. 10 years of that really have been realising that you can climb hard and it's something to train for. And it's only really been in the last couple of years that I've incorporated repeaters into my training. So repeaters on a simple basis is just doing a problem once, then doing it again, and then maybe doing it again. But to look at them a bit more closely, there's so much that you can gain from repeating problems. It's about building confidence on moves that you once found hard. So if you're repeating a problem 3 times and every time you look to refine your sequence a little bit more, by the time you do it the 3rd time, it often actually feels easier than when you did it the first. I especially like doing repeaters on harder problems, so that if you've got a project, say, when you do your project, then see if you can repeat it. But also when you're doing easier sessions, so if you're on some easier problems for you, do the easy problem once, then do it again and look for a smooth way through it, then do it maybe once more and do a smooth way through it again. And in this way it's really helped me build confidence on holds, confidence in your climbing movement. And when I'm coaching, it's a go-to tool because it works for pretty much everyone, and you can vary your approach to the repeaters as well. So you might repeat a problem 3 times working on accuracy, so you go quite steady and just make sure you get the holds exactly where you want them. Or you could do a problem, I didn't quite get that one right, or you can do a problem building up your speed where you go quicker and quicker each time. And my personal favourite is where you combine the two, so by the 3rd time you're going quite fast and quite accurately. So speed has been one of the biggest elements I've worked on in my climbing over the last year or two. There's a few components to it. One is you do actually have to be strong enough to hold the holds and have probably a bit more strength than the hold demands. But you can also actually use less strength by moving with more speed through the movement. So you're using your own upward momentum so you don't have to pull down so hard. A lot of this comes from your feet. So let's have a look in this problem. We might be able to see it near the top. I haven't got the camera angle quite right here. But this is quite a slopey, rubbish hold. To move off it, if you just pull, it's not going to work so well. So pushing with the feet, quite a good example, but let's see if we do it here. So going across these top moves, rather than holding on really hard, you send your whole body acrossways all at once. And that just helps you keep the momentum going. So the camera angle wasn't very good in these ones, but I wasn't going to redo it for the sake of filming. I wasn't sure if it's actually going to use these videos or not. But this is a cool little move, and you see a jump off the bottom foot even though you can't see it, rather than pulling so much. And that's using speed and upwards momentum. So this problem is a nice example of my next point about conditions. Here we've got some pretty bad holds, which are, well, they're positive, but if they get a bit smeggy, you're going to ping off them quite easily. And I always used to make the classic English excuse of, things a bit smeggy, conditions aren't quite right today, so I didn't do the problem. And really this last year I've realised that has been an excuse. And what I've mostly learned is that actually if a hold is quite smeggy, then you have to position your body in just the right way to utilise the hold rather than just trying to pull on it. And in this way I feel like I've become quite a bit of a better and more fluid climber, because climbing in the heat this summer has taught me how to hold the hold. So you're holding the hold, it's a bit smeggy, but you just look for that body position where you can still push with your feet, drive with your lower body and do the move. So to help with the head game here, I've also done some training like on a fingerboard and with a pinch block where I've let my skin be quite sweaty. I haven't used much chalk, and you just try and deal with it. So having said that, here I am brushing this hold so that I can get the conditions a little bit better on it, because you do have to pinch it really quite hard. So it's a balance. This brings me on to the next point of sequencing. So if you're climbing a problem, it's pretty obvious that you're doing a sequence and you're looking for the best sequence through it. But especially for doing a whole circuit and for success today, it's been all about actually sequencing the order of problems that you do, which I notice a lot of indoor climbers don't necessarily think about so much. So if you've got some big overhang route, you probably don't want to start your session off with a big overhang, because it could easily tire you out for the rest of the time. So instead you want to be thinking about which problems you can do as more warm-ups, say, and then as you progress through the session you try a few harder ones, but then you can also try a couple of harder problems and then find a couple of easier ones to intermix them with before you start to try some harder ones again, and then perhaps you'd finish off your session with some easier ones. Likewise, if you think about the terrain you're climbing on, if you intermix doing an overhang with a slab and then do an overhang with a slab, yes, you might have to walk across the centre a few times, but it's a great way to sort of conserve your energy rather than repeating the same terrain over and over and getting tired on it. So that really played a big factor in completing this circuit, where I'd planned pretty much to the T the order of all the problems. And you know that some problems are going to have slightly harder moves, some have slightly easier moves. We talk about percentages, so it's a move could be 100%, so you're never going to fall off it, or you might be a 70% move, which you might get 70% of the time. But then there's also those problems that have low percentage moves. Fortunately on this yellow circuit for me there was very few of them, and the ones that there were I'd already practiced quite a few times because I'd done repeaters on nearly all the yellows before I attempted all the circuit back to back. Because if you're doing a big circuit that's challenging for you, you really want to minimise the amount of times you fall off the hard moves just to conserve your energy. So it's about making every go count. So it's about quality of goes. That brings me on to one of the last main points in this video, which is all about quality of every go you have. So when I was growing up, I was always quite a hyperactive climber. I probably didn't rest long enough between climbs, and I tended to do way too much in every session and burn myself out. And I'd train too many times a week and never really get that much stronger. And I'm sure in hindsight, a hyperactive climber tendency really delayed my strength gains and just didn't give me enough time to rest. So again, in the last couple of years really, I've incorporated a lot more rests into my sessions, so you might easily rest 5 minutes, 10 minutes between problems, so you ensure a really good quality go. And it lets your strength recover. Also, it helps you not learn failure, because if you actually rest properly, then you have quite a more likelihood of doing the problem the next go, rather than just getting more and more fatigued on a move and learning fatigue. Here's a good little mobility trick, pushing down on your knee as you push the knee up into the hands. Just lets you activate the muscles that allow you to step up nice and high like so. So thanks if you've made it this far in the video, I hope you've been enjoying it. In just this last section you'll see me bouncing around the last few problems. I say bouncing because I'm trying to keep up my speed. If I start to go too slow now I'm going to soon burn out. So there's not much hanging around here. This really helps just like keep your momentum going, so I don't need to use so much strength. Then I just want to say how useful I found training with lots of different people this last year, working with lots of different coaches and just getting so many different perspectives on climbing, and then building on all the different perspectives I learn about from working with different coaches, talking to different people, and then integrating it into my own climbing. So you'll find some ways work well for you, other ways don't, and that's part of the learning process. So you find what works for you and work on it. And most importantly, have fun, and improvement comes naturally.